Hello. Hey, a little late night rant, if you don't mind. Um, well, it's not that late, but a little late night rant. Um, you know, it's hard to see for most of us, if not impossible, to see that we're we're stuck in our program. In a certain way, our values were set when we were very young, and our program decided whether they were good values or not, what was right or what was wrong. And we're kind of stuck in the programming. And for some people, I think that's okay. It must be. But some of us realized, and maybe at a very young age, that there was something amiss. And but we didn't have the language for it. We couldn't explain it. We knew that we didn't really fit in some way, and we knew that there was something wrong. And um, when we can't, but we go through life in the programming, in the conditioning, and not knowing how to get out of it, and actually trying to have, if you will, a better a better life in the programming. Now, most of you aren't going to want to hear about this. I mean, so only a very few will listen because it sounds kind of crazy. It's like, this guy must be nuts. What do you mean I'm programmed? Well, you are. And it's almost impossible to get out. You have to really, really, really want to get out of it, to get out of it, because it's multi-layered, and we think we are who we were programmed to think we are, and we've judged ourselves, we've kept ourselves safe, if you will, small, if you will, and teachers and have come along by the hundreds and thousands over the years to say, hey, wake up, wake up. And but because we don't understand, we can't hear them. We're caught in the treadmill, if you will, to achieve, because the programming says achieve. If you get these things, you'll be free. Bullshit. you know, and it tells us the story of how to live. But it doesn't really tell us how to live. It tells us how to follow, and how to live in fear, and how to live in judgment, and how it gives us a set of rules and standards. Now, not that anything's wrong with living a certain way, but you know, what if you wanted to be free? What if it's in you? What if you're there and you're saying, okay, and that's who I want to talk to. That's all. The rest of you go, hey. I want to talk to people who are saying, yes, I hear you. I want to be free. I get that I'm stuck in my belief system. I'm going to give you a couple of examples, okay? Um, One is a lady in my life that I know, and the relationship with her son is turning out, as he is an adult now, like the relationship has with every man in her life. Now, where was the die cast? Where was the die cast? But ego is so afraid to look, and there is no way to just change. We can't change it in the game. We can't change it in the programming. We have to bust out of it to be free. And so I see it. I talked to her today, and I see it. The same thing is happening. That's happened with all the men. Doesn't matter where it started, because the illusion is that we can go back and change it there. We can't go back and change it. If your belief about yourself, if you're dyed in the wool, belief, the color of you is that you're unworthy of love, or that you're not good enough, or that men can't be trusted, or women can't be trusted, or if those are fundamental beliefs, even if you deny them, they're there. That's what you get. So, how do we get free? First of all, we have to recognize that we're not. Okay? That's the deal. First of all, we have to see that we're stuck in our beliefs, stuck in our conditioning. Anybody relate to that? Does anybody relate to that? You know, that we are not who we thought we were. We're not free. People say, "Oh, I'm free." Bullshit. And we put on bravado. We stomp around and say, "Yeah, I can do whatever I want." But it's not that we're not free in that realm. It's that we're not free in here. That we're stuck in the prison of our judgments. And below that, in the prison of our belief about life and about ourselves. And much of it was set by our mums and dads. God bless them. They weren't free either. If you've had the gift of being with them when they passed, what was it like? Was there regret? Sometimes there's regret. We get to the end of our life and say, shit, I compromised. I wasn't free. I was afraid. Where did the fear come from? And it doesn't matter. It was there. It's in the system. And Freud talked about it. Jung talked about it, and he talked about it in relation to addiction. But it's really, what do we want? Do we want just a manageable life, or do we want to live in our full potential? Right? Do we want to live in our full potential? What do we want in relationship? Right? Do we want just somebody to behave with that treats us okay? Or do we want to live passionately? Do we want to love passionately? And our beliefs, wow. I wanted to read to you a little bit, because Jung said that we really couldn't recover from the state that we were in, and then that we if we were to recover, we had to completely shift. We had to completely shift. And so anyway, it won't happen. If you've ever woken up or if you've ever sat in a field and watched the sunset and said, "What's wrong? Why is my life not full? Why am I in fear?" Why? It's you cannot change it on the level that you're living it. It has to be shook in a bigger way. You have to actually surrender the whole thing. And sometimes you almost have to get angry to surrender. You have to say, "That's enough. Fuck it. I'm done." Living small, right? So just recognize that it's there. You can have this. And it's fear that separates us. It's fear and ignorance, okay? Because we think that we are, I am who I am. I can't change who I am. That's bullshit, right? We think that. We're thinking with the conditioned mind. The conditioned mind has defended itself with pride, fear, right? Guilt and shame. It's defended itself. It's built these walls around it and said, "We're safe. I got you covered." Okay? So freedom is there, and there's many paths to that, but you've got to want it. You've got to want it with everything you have. And my friend Paul Lowe used to say, "You can't find it by looking for it, but you won't find it if you don't look for it." And if you think you got it and you're free, because you can quote a few words from the book, just look at what's happening in your life. Be free now. Be here now. And the whole thing is about being here now. Eckhart Tolle, was a whiny little shit that, sleeping on park benches, and then he got it. And look at him, right? Then he got it. Many, many, many men and women have awakened. Study the path of the awakened ones, okay? Look at what they've got. listen to Hawkins. Dr. Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins had amazing awakened experience. If you want it, you have to become familiar with it a bit. There's a number of ways of getting it. What's his name? In a variety of spiritual experiences, years and years ago, wrote that there were we could have an awakened experience, which was like the mountaintop one, the burning bush one. That's a possibility, but most of us don't get that. We awaken in incrementally. Incrementally, it comes to us because we're looking. It comes to us because we have asked for it, and we ask. There's a universal intelligence, and it pays attention to your request. And ask, and call it prayer, call it meditation, call it whatever you want, and then begin to search. So some of the people that I recommend today that are alive today, Mooji's pointing people towards it all the time. But you've got to, spend some time with him online, and don't get sucked into, what about, other things. There could be nothing more important in our lifetime than to awaken, right? To become self-realized. Enlightenment. What does enlightenment mean? It means that we recognize, not some big mystical thing, we recognize that we can't trust our own thinking. We recognize that our best thinking is distilled in the pool of lousy conditioning, fear-based conditioning, right? Or even superior-based conditioning. So our best thinking comes out of that if it's coming just from here. So we wake up and we say, my God, I can't trust my own thinking. And what do we awaken to? We awaken to the fact that we are not separate from the universal intelligence, that we are not separate. And I'm not talking about a religious God or some kind of a any religious God. I'm talking about, not that it excludes that, but nothing in specific. I'm talking about awakening to the fact that we are one with that energy. And freedom is there. And love is the key. Love is the way. Love is the way. So, I'm eager to find some people who want that. I really am. And sometimes it's the alcoholic and the addict that I work with, but not often. It's not. They just want to go far enough so that they can manage their life without it being a fucking mess all the time. And I can relate to that. And I work with those guys all the time, and I'm willing to, but mostly they're not willing to go all the way. They get afraid. They're afraid of the unknown. They get afraid. They say, what's going to happen to me? Well, what's happening to you now? We go from relationship to relationship. We get the best job, and in no time doesn't fill the bill. We go to the gym to get in great shape, but the body just gets old. It doesn't last, right? We take a trip. I have a friend. I do. I have a friend that, she's in such pain right now because trips were her runaway. I just want to run away, always, every year. I want to go, and she would sacrifice, compromise, and do everything that she could because that was her drug. Take me away. And we do that. The world is full of people running away from their circumstance, but when they get to wherever they go, you're there, still with your conditioning. So it's hard to believe, at one level, that you are the sum total of your conditioning. And if you don't wake up to that, if you don't realize you're not your thoughts, if you don't realize that you're not your thoughts and your thinking, your mind, then you're screwed. You're stuck in that loop over and over. We're talking Groundhog Day here, baby. So wake up. That's the message over and over again. And I don't know. I just thought I'd share it tonight, because we look at so many people. If you can't see it in you, it's obvious in others. And know if you can see it in them, it's also in you. Okay? One of the beautiful things, when I spent quite a few years with Paul Lowe in group, and he'd be working with somebody to help them to see that they weren't living in the moment, that they were living in the illusion, they were living in fear. They were so afraid, they wanted to change. I want to change this, I want to change that, thinking if they changed things out in the outside, they would feel better. And I watched them and I could see, where they were hooked, but it was so hard to see in me. It took a long time. Took a long time, and I really had to get beaten up bad. So, but lots of you don't have to go that far. You don't have to get as beaten up as I have. So, this is the story tonight. My little rant. Wake up. The first thing you need to do to wake up is to know that you're not. Okay? And then, listen to Muji on YouTube. It does, if you don't like the way he looks, that's okay. Just listen to him. He's talking about awakening. Listen to Dr. David Hawkins. He gives us all of the language that we need, because it's not just an awakening through the intellect, right? We can't stay in the intellect and be awakened. But it's through the intellect for a while as we lift up and we kind of melt the icy, frozen belief systems. But they do melt, and love will melt them. Being with the group helps, being with the group helps. So anyway, love you guys, all my heart. And if you're interested, if you want this, I'm available too. We'll talk, we'll bang things around, we'll go to the uncomfortable places. If we keep doing the same things, we get the same results. But from the mind, we can't change the doing. It has to be at a higher level. Okay? We have to recognize that the mind can only take us where it can take us. And often it takes us back into the same old story. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of love. Can't trust the world. There's a conspiracy, man. The world's out to get us. We're surrounded by fear and the idea of love, and you have to be with somebody to get love. It's juicy and fun, especially in the beginning. It really is. And you can have that love, but it has to start here. It isn't just from the outside. It's everywhere, but we can't see it everywhere if we don't have it. Right? Anyway, it's my talk for tonight. I love you guys. Thanks. Oh, follow me on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube. Thanks. Mhm.